Welcome to another episode of Thoughts to Chew On, the show where the chopping block gets fleshed out. And fellas, is it cringe to ask for a pause button in video games? Well, according to Kanatanga on Twitter, I refuse to call it X, this is a take that should be clipped and mocked as Twitter's villain of the week. And this is all over Elden Ring. Elden Ring is a FromSoft game, which means that the game is hard and will beat you down until you learn how to get good. The phrase get good can't be considered rude or dismissive to the general difficulty of the game, but the core philosophy of the games is to play them until you master them. So light mocking of people who ask for an easy mode makes sense because that goes against the point of the game to an extent. But the person that Kanatanga is clipping is asking for a pause button, something as normalized to video games as far back as Super Mario Bros. On the NES. How could you be against a pause button? Well, let us take a look at the clip Kanatanga attached to the tweet.
Consent. There are long-term disabilities, there are situational disabilities, there are temporary disabilities. It counts as a disability where a video game like Elden Ring is concerned if you have a kid. You have a 2-year-old, you're trying to play Elden Ring, you can't pause. That is a situational disability that you have, where the game not having the option for you to be able to pause, for example, is a hindrance for your particular disability.
Okay, so this person is saying that there are situations where you need to pause the game, either due to disabilities that someone might have, or a situational disability, such as having a 2-year-old. This seems like a pretty fair and understandable take, because there are times when something comes up that takes your attention. Elden Ring has designated safe spots littered around the world, and if you're in a situation where you're not near one, pausing will prevent the added stress of losing progress. This will turn gaming, in the case of being a parent, an added stress instead of stress relief. Well, how could Kanatanga twist her words in this case? Elden Ring needs to be easier because I have kids. Do you think she's the type of chick to park in a handicapped zone because she thinks having kids is a disability? What? In what way is asking for a pause button because it makes the game accessible the equivalent of taking a handicapped zone because she thinks having kids is a disability? Words can have more than one meaning, which is why she separates disabilities and situational disabilities. I mean, she spoke slowly and concisely, so it's hard to miss what she's saying. Then again, the clip starts halfway through what she's saying and is 9 minutes into a nearly 18-minute video. So Kanatanga's mask slipped the moment the clip started. Getting mad at someone for asking for a pause button is absolutely insane, and I can already see the counter-arguments. Elden Ring does have an online mode, so pausing an online game is not something that can be done. But Elden Ring and most Soulsborne games have an option to play offline, and last I checked, there's no way to pause in offline mode. People, or in this case Kanatanga, can argue that it ruins the difficulty, but that's not even true because the game is meant to be hard from the get-go. I don't see how pausing a game can make the game easier, and in some hypothetical reality where that caused exploits, that wouldn't make sense because playing a Soulsborne game in a broken way is popular on YouTube and Twitch. It allows fans to experience or see their favorite game in a new light, so there's no way to justify this attack on a creator that's not being rude in this clip, and the point Kanatanga makes, if you can call it that, has no point. Journalists often have a quote that is used to incense people, and more often than not, people neglect to read the article linked below the quote. Kanatanga posted a scuffed clip that's 25 seconds long and expected no one to read it / call it out. You can see this as Kanatanga tweeting something with an ulterior motive, like engagement clipping or just hitting on a woman. And I don't see a blue check mark, so you make of that what you like. Asking for accessibility options is not a bad thing, and it just allows more people to play a game. Like it or hate it, I like it. The Last of Us Part 2 has a truckload of accessibility options to make the game easier for people who can't play it. These are options that can be toggled and messed with. They're not shoehorned into the game, so the idea of these options ruining a game is wrong because to encounter these changes, you need to make them yourself. But to give Kanatanga the benefit of the doubt, maybe the character limit on Twitter prevented him from making the slam dunk of an argument. Apparently this person is a YouTuber called Fratanga Plays with 72.9k subscribers, and he made a video on this, so let's see if maybe they had an off day on Twitter. First of all, the title. Elden Ring DLC has its developer believe having kids is a disability and demands more accessibility. Half of the title is already inaccurate, and demands more accessibility is on par with the quartering's naming schemes, which doesn't bode well. Second of all, he does exactly what I said he'd do. He quotes Miyazaki in an article that explains why changing the difficulty would ruin the game and lumps this woman into the generic, "this game is hard, make it easy for me" criticisms. Also, the reason why I haven't said her name is because in both the tweet and the video, he doesn't say her name or even link the original video he's sourcing. Furthermore, the title claims that she's a developer, but without explaining who she is and what she's worked on, there's nothing here that demonstrates that. Unless she's like the SpongeBob SquarePants of game devs and I'm out of the loop. In the video, he continues to misconstrue her statements. She makes jokes and he decides to pretend that this is a real statement and then follows that up with an unfunny joke. For example, she jokingly says this:
The day has finally come. The people have finally spoken. So listen up, Miyazaki. Elden Ring's DLC is too hard.
And this triggers this dude so much, he has to create fallacious statements such as, "Well, you see this person had no hands, and he beat the game." And then sources a video of someone beating the game with brainwaves, which if anything, goes more towards her point of the cool things accessibility can bring to a game and against protecting Miyazaki's vision. And then he says, "Well, if DSP can beat bosses, then anyone can." Which really isn't engaging with her because she hasn't even started. She just made her joke and he went on this tirade. Then she mentioned how FromSoft probably agrees that their game is too hard because they released a patch where they balance certain aspects. Which makes him mad because, according to him, balance doesn't make the game easier. But balancing a game does make the game easier. Not a whole difficulty's worth, but it makes the game more fair. So he's just being pedantic for no reason. Balancing doesn't even equate to a fair game either. Look at Overwatch for example, but it's just nitpicking, and on top of that, he mocks her for having an ad in the middle of the video. I mean, most people skip that part when responding to a video, but he wants to be hilarious, so I guess that's why. The final half of this video is where Fratanga features the clip he posted on Twitter. So let's see if she says something so crazy that an entire video needs to be made. He interrupts her before she can make her first point in order to be snarky and assume that she'll just talk about making the game easier, which isn't something she said herself at this point in his video. So if his point was to make her look stupid, he's not doing a great job. In an ironic twist of fate, he's throwing every bad faith argument towards adding an easier difficulty setting into a person who hasn't even made these points, which makes his video both disingenuous and in bad faith. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We still have 9 minutes of his video to go. This is where he clips her and spends the rest of the video mocking that she called being a parent a situational disability. A situational disability refers to a temporary impairment in a person's ability to interact with technology due to their situation, context, or environment. This could range from having a hard time reading because you're blinded by the sun to having a broken arm. So in the case of being a parent and having issues investing time into a game because of those circumstances, she's right to use that term. But Fratanga hears the word disability and uses that to drive the rest of the video. Such as,
So basically that would mean that men in her worldview must be the cripplers, because every single time they pump a nut into a chick, they've basically disabled someone apparently. Oh my god. Obviously men are always to blame.
and
I mean, if we're using her logic here, does that mean having to take a shit is a disability? Because when I'm playing Elden Ring and I need to take a fat dookie, or I need to rub and tug it, would my anus be considered a disability? Will I be able to park in handicapped spots now because every time I want to play Elden Ring, I can't pause because I have to take a dookie? Unfair. What a disability. It sucks being born this way.
there's hyperbole, and then there's being an ass. Fratanga is an ass. If she says something out of pocket or was inflammatory, then hyperbole would be funny. But his reaction to her frankly calm and concise video is so disproportionate that the annoying person is Fratanga. It's like that episode of SpongeBob where he pranks Squidward. They're harmless and fun, but when Squidward pranks him back, it's assault and battery. You can tell that Fratanga is just picking on her because she said the word disability. But it doesn't even work because if you hear the words that come out of her mouth, there's no way to misinterpret what she said. And one Google search could have solved your misunderstanding. He says this, which is pretty funny considering this video.
Like, if you're going to reach that far to make an argument about having a pause button, they should have probably not published this video. Like, if you want to say having a child can make playing Elden Ring a little harder, I guess you could go ahead and say that. But if you're going to say it's a disability or a type of disability, well, no, you're just objectively wrong. Being a mom is not a disability. Like, there are words you can use loosely. That's not one word you can use so loosely.
And he then says that you can just quit the game and come back, when that's not a solution to a problem. If your baby is screaming in the other room, you don't have time to turn off the game. You just go over there. That's why having a pause button will be great to have, because you just press a button and you can go back whenever you want. It's crazy that this is a game he has all this knowledge on, but neglects to mention that you can't just quit without saving, but offers that as a suggestion if something came along, which gives me a migraine just trying to compute. He continues to just sound like an idiot until she mentions a new point for him to nitpick at. She mentions how she has tendinitis and accessibility options would help her mitigate her issues, and he boils it down to take a break. And Miyazaki can't do everything, which is a non-response and more of the yapping he's done this whole video. He then acquiesces, but he can't go down quietly because he says that she's begging when she's calm and collected the whole video. Then he just blames her for having tendinitis, which is stupid and deserves a 20-minute video or poorly worded tweet instead of a creator asking for a pause button in a video game. Then he has this to say, which is, let me just show you.
If you're playing so many games that you've basically crippled your hands, though, I think you have a bigger issue than the difficulty of Elden Ring. But I would by no means call it a disability either. I mean, I have a friend who had his entire arm crushed by a forklift, and he has permanent damage in that arm, even after they somehow managed to repair his crushed arm. And he's still playing the game with all of these issues, not once demanding anything be changed to make life easier. It just rubs me the wrong way when people who live with far less severe health issues want to be categorized in the same group of people who do have actual disabilities and are still somehow playing the game.
First of all, no one is begging for a pause button. She's just asking. And second of all, this guy is pulling fallacies out of his ass. There's no way your friend has a repaired, crushed arm and can play Elden Ring without some kind of issue. Either this is fake, which wouldn't shock me, or he's using hyperbole to shut down someone when in reality it just makes him look like a dickhead. Our final point is that the people with disabilities don't want the game to be easier. They just want the ability to play the game in spite of their disabilities. This makes me wonder if he watched the video before reacting, because this just goes against every jab or claim he made in this video. Instead of engaging with her point, he just goes on to say that having children isn't a disability, which is something she did not say. But when you have no real retort, you just grasp onto anything. He responds in a laughing, high-pitched tone, which is like saying, "She's wrong, right, guys?" This is where he ends the video because he doesn't want to engage in a discussion anymore. His words, not mine.
Yeah, but here's the thing, having children is not the same as being one of those people. I know maybe I shouldn't get so hung up on how poorly you worded that, but it still keeps bugging me so much. You know what? I regret entertaining that thought. I can't believe I gave you a chance. We're done. Like, any other point you have to make is just tarnished, no pun intended, by how atrocious of a reach you went for. The whole video is ruined. There's like no proper defense for it. It's an edited, pre-recorded video. You could have come back and changed your points, reworded it so it didn't sound completely stupid. I just can't believe the levels people are willing to reach.
This video is probably longer than it needs to be, but this dude is so much of a dickhead that I need to explore this from every angle. I'm not going to even entertain the fact that he has nearly 73k subscribers because he didn't even bother to identify her by her name or link the original video. This guy just sucks, and in trying to dunk someone, he himself got dunked on by everyone else. Thank you for watching. If there are any topics you want me to cover in the next Thoughts to Chew On, let me know in the comments section below. And if you liked the video and want to see more, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. I'll leave my patrons, Leocrid, Retroroy, Hack13, Neosai, Burbsai, the channel with the freakishly long name, Hachi, and new member Sarah Cato for supporting the channel. For $1 a month, your name will show up here on top of early access to new videos, and for $3 a month, you can be chosen to sponsor a video of your own choice. So if you want me to read, play, or watch your favorite anything, or the worst things known to man, here is your chance. And I can't say no, sadly. Love you guys, and shamalamoomoo.